Warning: you are about to be instructed on the installation of fire-resistant products. Please also refer to the installation manual supplied by Alufire and be sure to follow all instructions. This is important in order to ensure the fire-resistant properties of the products. Alufire Vision Line Frameless Partitions installation. Before installing the Alufire Vision Line partitions, check the dimensions of the installation opening. The diagonals of the opening should not differ by more than 1 centimeter. The opening in the masonry wall should be 20 to 30 millimeters wider and 10 to 30 millimeters higher than the external dimensions of the joinery. The inner surfaces of the opening should be smooth and undamaged. Because of their external dimensions, AVL structures are transported as separate elements. Individual elements are assembled on site using the supplied fasteners and M8 bolts. Before installing the structure, it is necessary to disassemble the glazing clips and mark the place of their reassembly. Horizontal profiles should be inserted into the aluminium connectors and bolted together using the supplied M8 bolts in the amount of 4 pieces for each connection. The structure should be assembled so that the factory-fitted angles are on one side. Profiles are marked with a length and a position identifier. Anchor bolts should pass through the omega sheets mounted on the outer side of the profiles, and therefore it is necessary to drill pilot holes through the holes in the omega sheets. The joinery should be placed on a leveled, stable, and even floor made of non-combustible material. To create openings in the frame profiles, it is necessary to open the leaves. After making sure that the structure has been properly assembled and that each omega sheet has a pilot hole prepared, one can put the structure in the place of installation. Before mechanical assembly, it is necessary to level and align the elements of the structure in one plane. Each pilot hole must be drilled to the diameter depending on the used fastening connector. Steel screws with a diameter of at least 5 mm should be used in flexible walls. The length of the fastening connectors should be selected in accordance with the Alufire approval documents. Steel screws with a diameter of at least 10 mm and a length in accordance with Alufire certificates should be used in rigid walls. AVL system partitions can be fixed along the lower edge to the raised floor with the fire resistance class respectively not lower than the AVL partition class. The investor should provide the feet of the raised floor along the lines of the joinery with a spacing of no more than 600 mm. The width of the door frame must be the same in its upper, lower, and middle parts. Mechanical assembly with the use of every omega sheet located on the perimeter of joinery is a necessary condition for correct installation. Under the bottom hinge, it is necessary to permanently wedge the structure with the wall using the provided wooden pads. For the correct installation of the horizontal top beam, it is necessary to temporarily support it in order to maintain its level. The space between the frame and the reveal should be filled with fire-resistant expanding foam in accordance with Alufire approval documents or with mineral wool with a density of not less than 70 kilograms per cubic meter. One may start to install the glazing clips on the side of the factory-installed angles. Before starting the glazing of the installed structure, check the dimensions of the glass panes in accordance with the documentation and then place wooden pads on the lower horizontal profile so that they are located 10 cm from the vertical edge of the glass pane. On the vertical profiles, glue the pads 10 cm from the lower and upper corners. There are spacers on the edges of the glass panes. Horizontal transport should be performed with special care. Setting the glass panes vertically requires the use of softwood boards or rubber pads to protect the corners and edges from cracking. After inserting a glass pane into the structure, install stabilizing angles. It is important to leave a gap between the angles and the glass pane. This will make it possible for the glass pane to work properly during a fire. Lack of a gap means a wrong angle. Angles are selected to identically match the colors of the felt of the factory-installed angles. Adjust the internal leveling and alignment of the glass panes with wooden pads. If a spacer is removed from the glass pane, it must be replaced. Measure the distribution of further wooden pads depending on the width of the glass pane and complete the angles on the installed glass. Degreasing the edges of the glass panes should be done using an agent dedicated to Dowsil silicone, Vipro Easy to Clean or its equivalent. Thanks to the spaces between the glass panes, all silicone joints will have the same width. Repeat the operations on each glass pane. Angles must be installed in all designated places. In the next stage, start to glaze the door leaf. In the case of a door, glue pads on the hinge side in the lower part of the leaf and on the lock side in the upper part of the leaf. In the lower part, place an auxiliary wooden pad that protects the glass pane during its installation in the structure. After installing the glass pane, the auxiliary wooden pad should be removed. The type of glazing gasket and its setting depend on the filling used. After placing the glass pane in the aluminium structure, mount the angles. The labels on the glass panes dictate the way that the glass panes must be installed in the structure. Using wooden pads, adjust the gaps between the leaf structure and the glass pane and pack out the leaf, making its proper functioning possible. Before the toe and heel, the auxiliary pad must be removed in the upper part of the door leaf. After the correct toe and heel of the leaf, one may start to mount the glazing clips and seals. Be careful to install the gasket with its blades aligning the glass pane. Gasket should be cut with an allowance of more than 20 mm in order to avoid changes in the length of the gaskets due to temperature. Standard handles are mounted using M5 bolts. After completing the mounting of the handle, tighten the counter bolts with an Allen key. Install the guide rail closer in accordance with the instructions provided in each package. The guide rail closer should be mounted using rivet nuts and M5 bolts. Holes for rivet nuts are made using the Phi 7 drill. Using a riveting machine, install the rivet nuts for the mounting of the guide rail closer and the arm or guide rail. Make adjustments using hand tools only. The use of power tools may damage the guide rail closer. Adjust the force and speed of closing depending on the instructions for guide rail closers. Before applying silicone joints, it is necessary to clean the glass panes and protect them against soiling with silicone. Before applying the joints, it is necessary to align the surfaces of adjacent glass panes. Double mounting suction cups and wooden pads or suction cups dedicated to the aligning of surfaces can be used for this purpose. It is necessary to protect the surfaces directly adjacent to the applied silicone joint with paper tape. Remove the gaskets in the places of applying silicone to glass panes. To make joints, use the fire-resistant Dowsil silicone provided by Alufire. Silicone is applied evenly, fully filling the volume of the gap between glass panes on both sides. Immediately after application, moisten the silicone with the dedicated smoothing liquid Vipro Easy to Tool or its equivalent. Smooth the surface of the joints using a silicone smoothing spatula with a slightly rounded corner, with continuous, decisive movement. In order to prevent the glass panes from becoming soiled with silicone, protect the silicone joints with cardboard U-shaped bars and leave until fully bound for about 14 days. Appropriate warning information has to be put up. After 14 days, one can remove the protective cardboard and clean the glass pane surfaces. We invite you to read additional information on the supplied installation manual. In order to maintain the fire-resistant properties of the partitions, each time replace all damaged fragments of protective aluminium tape on the edges of the glass panes. To this end, remove the damaged fragment and stick new tape on with an allowance of at least 4 cm per side. Failure to replace the damaged aluminium tape will lead to the leakage of the special gel, so the glass panes will become damaged and lose their transparency. This will result in the loss of fire-resistant properties. Alufire Vision Line partitions have unlimited width. For the butt joining of profiles, the sheets and sections supplied by Alufire should be used. Insert the profiles and connection sheets into the profile chamber halfway along their length. Combine all elements using screws on the external side of the profile. Join the profile on the side of the glass. Cut the swelling gasket from the profile from under the connection sheet, which is also a steel washer for angles. After completing the assembly of the angles, glue the previously cut out swelling gasket and fasten the additional 8 screws securing the section placed inside the profile chamber. Cut the glazing clips in such a way that their joints do not match those of the basic profiles. For angular connections, only connection sheets are used. First, insert the connecting plates on the external part of the profile, then mount them using the screws provided. From the side of the glazing, cut out the swelling gasket from the profile, screw the angular connecting plate with angles, and stick the gasket again. The Alufire Vision Line system also makes frameless Tea connections possible. Start the assembly by installing connection sheets on the external side of the profile, using the screws provided. Next, the sheet should be installed on the side of the glass, which also serves as a washer for the angles, remembering to stick the swelling gasket onto the surface of the sheet. The glazing clips should be cut to the appropriate length. Thank you for watching Alufire, fire-resistant aluminium joinery systems.